Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, peeps and seeps, welcome back to the Mac Live, the #1 podcast here in the world. We're back for episode 179. And if you're new to the channel, we go over absolutely everything to do with making money online, living your freest life, because what's the point of money if you don't have the freedom to go with it? And then I show you all the hidden strategies online that others won't for free. This is the Value Channel. Now, if this is the first episode that you've watched, I do these in podcast style format. So we're on Google Podcast now, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, we're on fucking every platform known to man. So it's not just here on YouTube. So the way in which I do these videos is we go over some updates that are going on in the Mac life. We get a little bit of a connection built between me and you. And then we get into the main topic towards the end. Now, in today's video, we're going to be looking at the X-rated setup sheet. So a breakdown. I talked about this in yesterday's video about the new method that is an absolute killer that some seven-figure content creators have been using. Essentially using X-rated sites to generate large amounts of traffic to their Onlyfans. We're going to be breaking down video specs and everything like that towards the end of the video. But like I said, we got a few updates to get through first. Now, the IG verification was submitted yesterday, and same with Facebook personal profile. I've heard nothing on either. Actually, I haven't checked Facebook today yet, but I've heard nothing on either. So that's a good sign. I guess I used to get rejected instantly in the past. When we submitted the music one, I didn't hear anything for like 10 days. So I was 100% certain that we were going to get it. We didn't get it. But hopefully this time, now that we got Forbes, now that I'm in Entrepreneur Mag, we can get the Instagram verification finally. And then when that's the case, I'll be making a whole dedicated video to help you get your Instagram verified too. And I'll show you the process that I went through, the costs and everything like that. Now, travel's looking good. So we got some good travel plans lined up. Like I went through this yesterday, I put up the map, but pretty pumped for it. I got 30 something countries. And that's just a rough guideline. Like I said, I could stay in some countries for 3 weeks. I could be in other countries for 2 days. I could throw in other countries in the mix. I'll really just figure it out as I go. I have complete freedom and capital to do what I want. So I'll figure it out as I go. Plus, I've got pretty much meetups sorted for every single country now. So besides maybe a handful, maybe 4 or 5, where I haven't heard anything from anyone, after posting on the Instagram and mentioning it on YouTube yesterday, I've got people keen to meet in pretty much every single country in Europe. So we're going to do meetups. I'm going to put them on the podcast as well, and we can get a little bit of back and forth dialogue on top of the solo videos, because it's not going to be as easy to do reaction videos while I'm on the go. I'm going to have to use either a 4K cam or look at what the new camera on the new MacBook Air is. And depending on how that looks, I reckon reaction videos, we probably won't put out as many each day. I might put out 1 a day. A podcast, obviously, will still be out every single day. And then we'll try and do a back and forth dialogue podcast with people that I meet up to add on, as well as a business training video, because they're all just screen view, which is nice. So I just need to sort out the audio and all the little specs before we leave. And then, we'll be leaving probably in around 10 to 14 days. I haven't booked a flight yet, but I'll be heading to Dubai first. And then we'll be out and off into Uvopra. So if you want to meet up, send me a message and we can definitely connect. Next, I know it's going to be cold over in Europe, so, I was only really thinking about this yesterday. I really need to get some fucking warm ass clothes, but at the same time, it's like, I only take a carry-on with me, so it's what I can fit in a carry-on. What I can fit in the carry-on has to be everything, and like, if I'm wearing a big-ass jacket, it means I'll probably have to wear that big-ass fucking jacket on the plane. But then the problem is, if I'm there and then I can't fit that big cunt into my bag, I'm fucked. So we have to do some planning with the packing again, because I like the minimalist style traveling. And I've essentially looked at different places to stay. Now, I will just find out as I go where I'm staying, but I've keyed in a few different hostels. Now, people are going to hear hostel and they'll be like, what the fuck, hostel? Why aren't you staying in hotels? I like the atmosphere of hostels, but I will never share a room. So I'm only going to hostels where they offer pretty much like boutique private rooms. The price doesn't matter. It's pretty much the same cost as a hotel. But the difference is with the hostels, you get more of that traveler vibe. You're going to meet other travelers. And really what this trip is about is discovering like the culture of each country. That's what I'm going for. I want to look at the culture and the history of each country. So I'm keen to meet up with more people that are into that as well. Now, obviously, I would like to also tether that in to spending time with people with higher net worths. Like I said, the people that you spend the most time around, you start to adapt some of their character traits. You start to become like those people. So we will sample it in, with people that I'll be meeting up with that have high net worths or higher net worths than the average traveler. Because that's very important to consider as well. And it may sound shallow, but it's very, very important, because what will happen is if you spend time just constantly conversing with people that have low net worths, you fall into these patterns, these habits, these beliefs, and you can't do anything about it. It's just they naturally happen, because people's worlds are centered around themselves, which is normal. But when your life is centered around yourself and you don't have a high net worth or you don't have a high income, your problems aren't the same problems. And so what happens is, if you spend time, say your average 5 people you spend time with all have lower net worths, you're going to start to add in those problems. And it could be, petty things that don't make any sense in the long term. So it's very important that you diversify while you're overseas. And if you run an online business, that you also make sure that you spend time around other people running successful online businesses. Very important. Now, going to go through today. What else we got? Yeah, I think a lot more people need to be comfortable going solo, and especially like solo travel and things like that. It really builds your character as a person. Plus, it gives you time to introspect. It gives you time to challenge your own beliefs. It gives you time to think about things deeply. When you're constantly, with people, you have very little time where you can deeply challenge your own beliefs. You have very little time where you can deeply introspect, because you're constantly being bombarded with other people's thoughts, opinions, expressions. So that's why, solo travel, there are definitely big periods of solo travel where maybe it's transport between places or whatever, where it's just you and your own thoughts and your own mind. And that is, an incredibly powerful thing, because you start to question different aspects about the way the world works. Because really, every constraint that you have on yourself in your life is simply a belief or a skill set or a character trait. Alex Hormozi talks about this consistently. It's my favorite thing that I've been preaching for the last year. Is it's one of three things that are holding you back in a category you want to succeed in. It's either a belief, it's a skill set, or it's a character trait. So when you have deep time to introspect, you will help to break down especially core beliefs that hold you back, because you'll challenge your own beliefs. Because think about it, you can't have the beliefs you have now and think that you're going to get the outcomes you want if you haven't achieved those outcomes. Think about it. If you believe something to be real, but yet it hasn't brought you the outcomes that you wanted in your life, it means your beliefs are wrong. We have to take more time to challenge our own beliefs, and it's very, very important that we do that. I'm constantly trying to break down what beliefs do I have that are incorrect. The biggest one for me was I understood that money could be made from a young age, but I didn't understand, I always thought that you had to work for someone or work within a business to do it. And once I heard, Tai Lopez talking about it when I was a younger age, and I started reading all these books when I was 20, then my mindset shifted. And my belief system started to shift of how money works. And it takes time. I had the belief system from back then because I adapted and adopted it, but I didn't have the skill set, and I didn't have the characteristics, which were, I was building upon the characteristics of hard work and patience. But my problem was I would chop, change, knee swap, chase the new shiny object. And that was a poor character trait that I had, not a belief. I had the beliefs in place, I had poor character traits, and because I had poor character traits, it didn't allow me to build skill sets, because skill sets are built through volume. Okay, so that's why you really need a combination of all three to be successful. Now, on top of that, we talk about the attention economy in pretty much every video, how attention is the new age of success, and especially in the Onlyfans industry, you should be building out a YouTube channel. It's 100% you should have a YouTube channel if you're an Onlyfans girl. The amount of subscribers you push from your YouTube channel, the amount of shout for shouts you will generate, the amount of community and audience and other ways that you can monetize, the amount of referral links, if you're a Hive member, the amount of affiliate sales that you could promote, it's absolutely monumental. So you need a fucking YouTube channel. It's an absolute must, especially for the long-term game, because otherwise you're just consistently chasing day-to-day marketing rather than building out an audience. And if you're struggling to think of ideas to build upon for a channel or whatever, the easiest cheat code are just reaction videos. They're so trending in today's world, and it's just a cheat. It's essentially a cheat to do it. all you're doing is reacting to topics that you find interesting and then giving your insight. And people that agree with you are going to agree and be more influenced by you. And people that disagree are going to comment and going to pump up engagement so that more people who agree with you find it. It's a viral cycle, and it's very, very easy. I will say this though. When you are doing reaction videos, make sure you credit the source video. Make sure you tag the author. The last thing you want is, like, especially when you're monetized on YouTube, is to cop some DMCA reports or, you know, content copyright strikes and things like this, and that can potentially progress to further issues. So just make sure that you tag the original author in videos. And what I like to do as well, so the algorithm doesn't pick up on it as much, because YouTube has an auto sync feature now to find videos. Play little bits, stop, give your opinion, play a little bit, stop, and it's actually kind of nicer for the audio as well, rather than you just consistently talking over the top of a video that's playing. Next thing, goodwill compounds. Like I said, I've been giving out shout outs, I've been giving out, you know, all these fucking things here from this YouTube channel, and it compounds, you know. Look at the growth and the rate of my channel that it's now growing. We're nearly growing at 100 subscribers a day now. And it's still, to some people, that doesn't sound like much. But if you think back to when I started checking, I was gaining 30 a month. I'm nearly gaining a day. I'm nearly gaining in one day what I used to gain in 3 months. Fucking, what a catch. And so that's insane. Like, and when I look at the growth, what that will continue to take place, eventually it'll go from 100 a day, which is already massive. Like 100 a day, if you think about it, once it updates on YouTube, it was saying that I was gaining 30 to 40 a day. But yesterday when I watched, we went from like just over 6K to now 6.11. So that's like pretty much 100 a day. That's like 3K a month already. So if it holds at that 3K a month, you think 12 months from now, that's fucking 36K subscribers. 36K on top of the 6 that I have. And if it continues to compound and compound and compound, this channel will blow up. We'll have hundreds of thousands. Then I'll launch the secondary channel. I'll push people there for the Russian podcast. I think I'll have to wait with the Russian podcast. It's a better idea to just wait until the channel's bigger, because I can get more of a quadratic effect by focusing on building here first, okay, and then starting that secondary channel in Russian, because otherwise a lot of you are just English speaking, and the problem is you don't want to be subscribed and see that video constantly popping up and flooding the feed. And so I was thinking about pushing it here because I'm big on, you know, a single force, single niche, single channel, single this. But I've realized with YouTube, it's of paramount importance that you deliver the correct content to the correct people. And, you know, I believe over time, the algorithm will become smarter at doing it, especially if I put the titles in Russian or use the Cyrillic alphabet. However, for now, we have to hold off, and once the channel's a bit bigger, then I'll push out the potties in Ruski тоже. Итак, what's next? We have 2.0. It's going to be massive. Onlyfans 2.0, you know, we've already got a good waiting list of people now. We focus heavily on churn mitigation, churn incentivization, you know, using the back-end funnel system to maximize the amount of money that's being made. Upsell ladders. There's just so much into it as well. And now with the girl that's been essentially pushing 7 figures using X-rated sites, we'll be developing a system on that as well. So it's just the amount of value that's building into these things. It's exciting to work on every single day. And it's definitely a lot of work, because I put in the fucking hours late at night to get these things done. I film them, I script them, then I delete them, then I refilm them, and I just try and make sure that, you know, I can concise the information down to, you know, very small segments, because I believe if you can't explain the systems at place to like someone in a 5th grade level, you don't understand it well enough. You have to try and overcomplicate it because you really don't understand it well enough. Now, I think as well as it, you know, some people have been messaging me business advice, business this, business that. Business is essentially based on profit, and it's about how much you keep. You know, if you have a business, I know a lot of people that turn over a lot of money. They turn over, you know, 800,000 a year, or they turn over millions, but they have inventory, they have multiple staff, they have this, they have that, and by the time they break it all down, they're essentially just running a public service, a high-stress public service as well. It would almost be better to just be in a job where what you're doing is secure. Business is broken down essentially to the amount of value you provide and the amount of profit you make. It's how much profit you make and how much profit and how much value you provide. And it's that simple. We don't have to overcomplicate it. Everything else in between is simply a strategy. Last thing I want to talk about before we get into the OnlyFans stuff. Now, Smaller podcast today, but some days they're just like that. Now today, I want to talk about if you're not pushing 7 figures a year yet, and this is where essentially I went wrong. If you're not pushing 7 figures a year, you should be focused on one industry, one niche, and if possible, one customer avatar, okay? Because when you try and do multiple things and you're trying to manage your real estate and you're trying to manage, day trading and you're trying to say, well, I'm going to buy real estate here and focus on this. And then you're also trying to grow a business and you're also trying to do this. It's not going to happen. Think about how skillful you have to be to generate 7 figures a year. You have to be an expert. Is it possible to become an expert in anything? I believe so. I believe people can become an expert in anything they choose. Is it possible for people to become an expert in 7 industries at once or 3 industries at the same time? No, it's just not possible. It's not possible for you to grow multiple things at once and see success. And so, time and time again, I've had to tell myself this. I've had things like, even I've had e-com stores, for example. Whilst I was focusing on the Onlyfans transition, I had my e-com stores still running and still generating profit, and they were basically automated, but they were still, people say to me, like, why would you get rid of that store when it's generating you profit basically on autopilot? Because it takes attention away and it takes energy away from what you could be focused on in a single lane, and you really don't see it. But any little bandwidth that's stored somewhere else that you're using to focus on something else is holding back an explosion in the other area. So you really need to pick one thing and stick with it. And I think a really great way to look at it is, a lot of people say this same thing. They say, well, I'm making, $8,000 a month from my store already. Say it's e-commerce, right? Or I'm making $8,000 from this OnlyFans already. Should I launch a collaborator account? Should I launch a second e-com store? Should I launch this? And I ask them, like, how hard was it for you to get to the stage you're at? And they say, I've spent a lot of time building it up. I say, well, how do you think you could build another one of those things with a half the amount of time of split attention? And now your primary thing is most likely going to suffer. So what happens is, say you're making 8K in your original thing and you decide I'm going to create a collaborator account. All the attention that you start to put on the collaborator account will probably get you up to about 4K. But your primary one will drop to 4K because it's got less energy and attention into it. So instead, the question you need to ask yourself is, why are you really doing it? It's because you want to make more money. Quite simply, it's because you want to make more money. And quite simply, the character trait that you're lacking is you're not willing to do the boring work over and over again. You should be saying, I don't need a collaborator account. How can I take my current 8K to 10K? How can I take that current 10K to 20K, to 30K, to 50K? You need to be looking, it's not the niche, it's not the opportunity vehicle. And I constantly hear people give me advice for my business. I constantly hear it. People say, well, why don't you also sell this? Why don't you offer a secondary stream? Why don't you monetize your other followers like this? Because the whole thing is, it's just a strategy that you're trying to utilize to make more money. And adding in extra things does not make you more money. It just takes away from you providing value in the primary source. The reason you're not making more money is because your primary source doesn't deliver enough value. That's where your time needs to be spent, not trying to re-monetize in cross streams. And so, that's harder with e-com stores because you have a multitude of different products. But if you're running, a beauty store, and then you're also like, I'm going to start a furniture store. Or you're running a furniture store and you're like, I'm also going to sell fucking, common household items. You know what? And then you branch out and you're like, from that, I'm also going to add in this. You're just destroying your own potential to grow. And it took me the longest period of time to learn that. And I continue to grow, I continue to learn. But all the lessons that I give you are to help you fast track from where you are now to where at least I am. And I continue to change my beliefs and I continue to learn more and more from people above me. So anyway, with that being said, we've cracked out nearly 20 minutes of shit today. So let's get into the OnlyFans X-rated setup. Now, to recap, if you didn't watch yesterday's podcast, essentially the X-rated setup is a massive traffic driving thing. What you need to do is essentially just take your TikToks, take your YouTube shorts and your IG reels and repurpose them and post them on X-rated sites. Pornhub, Xtube, RedTube, YouPorn, Xhamster, the main sites, okay? The main 5 sites. And what I didn't realize is most of them are actually subsidiaries of Pornhub. They actually own or they have main ties with all of these brands. They own pretty much all of them. So the repurposing of the content is very, very easy. In fact, the setup is pretty much the same across all channels. So we're going to break down the setup a little bit. But I will put a disclaimer. Make sure that if you're putting it to TikTok first, you don't download the video with the TikTok watermark, because other platforms mitigate the amount of reach because it's a promotion of TikTok. You're promoting competitor accounts. So make sure that you you repost videos outside of the TikTok platform without the TikTok watermark. There's a little strategy for you. Now, inside of the X-rated sites, you want to add what's called a pre-roll and a post-roll. Now, if you look back to my original YouTube videos, the reason I don't do them on YouTube anymore is because they just actually take attention away from people. But when you're using them as a promo to push for sales and your call to action, they are of paramount importance, okay? So when you create a pre-roll, it's essentially you show the start of your video and you want to captivate people's attention. So usually the way you do it, and this is how you get a lot of attention with shorts, is you show 2 seconds of something that captures people's attention, whether that's like a really high point inside of the video or it's the start of the video that's really captivating. It's your hook. Then you skip straight ahead to your pre-roll, which should last for about 5 to 6 seconds. And it's essentially, it can be a black screen with links, but it pushes people to your Onlyfans. You're pushing people to your Onlyfans or your agency page if you have an agency page. Or like if you're an OnlyFans creator and you have a personal brand page, like the 2.0 style shows, you push them to that page. But, okay, what you need to do is make sure that it's always the exact same thing. It's always the exact same coloring. It's always the exact same music, because people start to build brand identity. And what happens is, if they click through 6 or 7 of your videos, if they're constantly seeing that same page pop up and they're constantly hearing that same music, they start to associate those feelings. And over time, they build more of a deep relationship with you, okay, just from that. And the exact same thing in your post roll. In your post roll, you want to use the exact same music and push people to your OnlyFans. Now, what I talk about is, in the videos, if you're showing sexual content, you're fine with that. Cut it off right before the climax point, right before what you think the best part of the video is. Cut it off. Throw in your post roll and say, to see more, okay, go across to OnlyFans, go across to my personal page here. If you're just using TikTok style content where it's sexy dance or strip teasing or whatever, you can run the whole video and then just say to see more exclusive content and then push them there. So it's really, really easy. You're just repurposing content to sites that already have super targeted audience. Now, I'm keen to test the results of this for new creators over time and see how much more of an income stream is added in. But it's really, really important that you all do this. Okay, now let's break down. Now, I've got the breakdown sheet. Essentially, I downloaded the booklet from Pornhub. They have a content creators guide, so they show like what can be used and what can be put up and how to format your videos in the best way. And they talk about a lot of this in there. So I can't link it in this video. You know, we're YouTube fucking friendly video here, so I'm not going to link it, but I have put it up inside the Hive. Now, with the way you want to do it is a breakdown. Our content should basically be just shorts. At the moment, unless you film proper like porn, there's no point putting up long format, horizontal style videos, because the amount of effort to reproduce your content like that, it is a lot easier to take the TikToks, the Reels, and the Shorts that you have and just redistribute them. So that's number one. Make sure you're using short format vertical content. Next is make sure you have your pre-roll and post-roll. The next thing is make sure you use the upload scheduler. So a lot of these platforms have schedules for uploading, and algorithms like consistency. If they see that you've got a consistent schedule that's being uploaded, they usually promote your content that little bit extra. Same as YouTube. I try and have my videos go out at 6, 11:45, 6 a.m. or 12 p.m. I try and always keep it within those hours, otherwise I just won't upload. And what I found is since I started having that schedule, okay, my audience kind of knows when to expect a video, and YouTube also gives me that extra little free boost. And so the exact same thing with these other platforms. Make sure you schedule your content in advance, and it's going to save you from missing days as well. And it's really, really easy with short content because like I said, if you're in the Hive, I talk about how to do this. You know, you get your videos, if you're a girl yourself or if you're a manager that manages girls, you film them at the start of the month, 30 to 60 videos. That's 1 to 2 videos a day on average. Okay, you get them edited if you want to do any editing. If not, you just keep them very simple. have them as they are, and then you post them up and have them scheduled for the month. That's your month's worth of short format content done already. Every other day can be spent on a long format video and handling your day-to-day marketing and lead acquisition. Okay, and that's how you're going to scale to 6 figures very quickly. And then from there, you'll be able to scale to 7 figures as your brand builds over time. Now, for your pre-roll and post-roll, if you don't know how to make it yourself, just go on Fiverr. There are heaps of incredible Fiverr people, and just type up YouTube intro, YouTube outro. They'll create you very cheap videos. Now, you can do it yourself if you're on a budget, but I always recommend leveraging other people's skill sets where you can. Just go on Fiverr or go on Freelancer, look for YouTube intro and outros, and they'll be able to create you one. Tell them that it needs to be in vertical style format, not horizontal, and then just give them the links to your OnlyFans, give them the links to whatever. Give them the brand coloring that you try to focus on if you have brand coloring, and then tell them to use the same music for both the intro and outro. Very, very easy. And then the last thing is really, these are the main strategies that are winning at the moment. We don't need to overcomplicate the process. You have the information. If you're in the Hive, you know how to focus on cold outreach each day. You know the 2 different forms of lead acquisition that we can use. You know how to run ads for warm-based ads and intent-based ads. And now you have the platinum methods, which are the YouTube, focusing on building up long-term and pushing high amounts of traffic there, which 90% of the 7-figure creators use. And now you have the X-rated site to start adding in as well, which is just like free fucking source for nothing. Then it really just comes down to learning your business principles. Make sure you're applying the right value post-purchase with Climax. Make sure you're following up with clients, making them feel good. Make sure you're charging a premium because you're going to be capped otherwise. And then make sure that you're working on your churn mitigation, okay, churn incentivization, and just continuing to outscale like that. So hope you found some value in today's video. I will tell you this as well. If you're an agency looking to work with a girl and say you don't have much money, I paid thousands of dollars personally for contracts to be made between myself and girls that I work with. You can reach out to me and I can give you a reference sample document, okay? Listen to the way that I'm wording this out of the way that I need to legally. I'll give you a reference sample contract that you can pass on to your lawyers and do with what you want to work with girls. But again, this is not legal nor financial advice. Now, I will say this as well, last thing to add on, for extra value, if you're a creator and you're looking for a shout out, feel free to reach out onto the IG at the Mac Life. I'll give you a shout here for free on YouTube, or I'll promote you to my giant email list of simps, or I'll pump you in the Discord, or I'll give you a shout for shout list. If you're an agency as well, I'll also give you that shout for shout list of 1,000 different creators that you can reach out to. I'm constantly updating that list. And that's it. If you found value, simply share this with a friend who you think this would help. I don't even ask that you subscribe. Just share it with a friend that you think will find value in this video. And I will see you all in the next one. До свидания. Пока.